Rolex is one of the few brands, if not the only brand, that has a very specific aesthetic. They are sporty, they are active, they are tool watches. That's kind of their main DNA. In the 50s, they came out with the Submariner, the Explorer, the Milgauss.
They go off to slurt something, so their watches started in the 50s, which I did not know. And I'm wondering how many different kind of Rolex watches you can buy. I would say maybe 1,000. Have a look on how many different kind of watches they've made over the last 50 years.
They were all watches that were designed and made to be used as tools, and it still is today. It kind of evolved into a luxury brand later in life, which now is what they're known for. Rolex is kind of one of those brands that sits on the lower end of the spectrum as far as luxury watches are concerned. The Submariner is $8,000. The entry-level watch at Rolex is $5,000 with the Oyster Perpetual.
The first dream watch I ever had was Rolex. So Rolex is one of them watches that you could actually buy yourself as a gift. It's sort of a good reward. The reason I bought my Rolex, this one that I've got on specifically, it was kind of my reward to say that I've achieved something. It was me giving myself a trophy at a certain point in my life. And she's right, it's a lower end of the scale. You'd hate to know how expensive watches are. They can get in the millions. But it's still a beautiful watch. It's a great design and it's a great entry point to the luxury watches.
They really focus on quality. It takes 1 year to make a Rolex. They go through extensive testing, the accuracy, the chronometer, the timing. It's all about telling the right time, keeping the right time. They also have extensive service work after, so if you ever have a problem with your Rolex, you can take it to them and they'll fix it.
That's a beauty. It doesn't matter where you buy a Rolex from, it doesn't matter what part of the world you have a problem with your Rolex, you walk into any Rolex dealership and they'll fix the watch. They'll change how many links you want off, they'll add links, they'll give it a quick sort of shine, and that's all free.
Clasp is opened and closed 1,000 times before it leaves, so you know that when you get it, it's not going to break. The whole point of a Rolex is you buy one now, it will last you for 20 years if you take care of it. It will last you for 100 if you really take care of it.
Something just happened in that video. I'm going to take this off and I'm going to show the camera quickly. This is a big trick. There's a lot of fakies, right? That they make in China and all Asian countries. If you're ever buying a watch and you want to know whether it's a fakie or not, look inside. And there's a number. The camera will no way pick it up. See the end of the glass, and inside there's just a number, and once that number's there, it tells you that it's a real watch. Can you see where it is? And inside it says Rolex on the edge, so keep that in mind. That's how you know whether it's a genuine watch or it's a copy. There you go, guys. Good insight, good little trick.
You're buying something that will last you a lifetime, presumably, and something that you can pass down to other generations as well. In the collector's world, there's the vintage Rolex market, and there's a whole underground of different, nuances. There's a GMT with a matte dial, a GMT with a gilt dial, and there are all these different tiny little details that change, and they make a watch more or less valuable. There's the Paul Newman Daytona, which sold for $17.8 million last fall, and that's the most expensive Rolex that's ever sold at auction.
$17.8 million. At the start of the video, I was talking about millions. 17, and believe me, that's just Rolex we're talking about here. If you're new to watches, I wouldn't recommend that you go and start buying watches and start thinking they're going to go up in value. It's a real talent. And believe me, I don't have it, otherwise I would share it with you. And I wonder if you know what the most expensive watch in the world is. I'm sure you could look it up. Comment, tell me what the most expensive watch you've ever heard of. They would probably sell it in an auction or something, and I want to know what brand it is too, by the way.
The Paul Newman Daytona is a really good example where they came out with the Daytona back in the 70s and they put these exotic dials on them. They couldn't sell them. And now they're the most collectible watches on the vintage market. No one knows how many Rolexes are produced per year. No one knows how many Rolexes are produced per model. But there are specific ones like the Rainbow Daytona that came out this year, rumored to have X amount made, but very small quantities. And you don't ever know exactly what the number is, but you do know that there aren't that many and they're hard to get. One of the best things about Rolex is anyone can wear any of them. They're very unisex, and I think that's refreshing because a lot of times brands are, put a lot of diamonds on watches and kind of brand it as a woman's watch, whereas Rolex does the same thing, but it's, kind of unisex.
I know with my wife too, she likes a big face, and there you find a lot more of the male watches. I know most ladies now are into the big faces. They prefer the big faces. That's what's in at the moment, and they're unisex, so it's great. His and hers, you could wear a matching watch. Cute. The ladies' Datejust is actually, in two-tone, is actually the most sold Rolex model of all time, which is a really fun fact. Yeah, look, a Rolex watch will never lose value. It will always hold their value plus go up. That's my experience, and I know they're going to go up in value. So you're never going to lose on the Rolex watch. That much I can assure you. You heard the lady talk about how there was a watch that no one wanted to buy. They made in the 70s because they had these dials and no one liked the dials, and now they're worth millions of dollars. So any Rolex you see, pick it up. Keep it in your safe, and I'm sure you'll get plenty of money for it in the future. You can pass it down to your kids.